to the Spicy Booknook, where we discuss all of our favorite and not so favorite dark and dirty book series. We're your hosts, Aj.
And Tay. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today we will be reviewing Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. Please be aware that there will be spoilers and explicit content for mature audiences only. To start off our first episode, um, girl, are we? Oh, I think we should start off with like the triggers. At least read the trigger warnings and warn everybody what the hell they're getting into, because this is not a book for the weak at all.
Okay. Hold on, sorry. I'm pulling
You're
up my little Pinterest board so I could be, the vibes.
not the vibes.
Gotta have the vibes, you know. Okay, so the trigger warnings for this book. Let's see, there's a lot. Okay, so starting off, oh Lord, we have graphic violence, human trafficking, stalking, child sacrifice, mentions of child death, and explicit sexual situations. Also, bondage and degradation.
The trigger warnings for Hunting Adeline include human and sex trafficking, rape, post-traumatic stress disorder, blood and knife play, dismemberment, murder, torture, gun and arrow violence, and whipping.
So, if that's not your vibe, I probably wouldn't listen to this podcast because this book is very, very dark.
Very. On a scale to like 1 to 10, what do you think? Like, or I'll say 1 to 5. How dark do you think it is?
I would say probably like a 4.5.
I'd agree. For the first book, for the second one,
It was a 5.
it was absolutely a 5.
A 5. The second book was very intense. The first book was, I would say, like a 4.5.
Yeah, definitely. And what did you rate the book overall?
Overall, I'd say like a 3.5. What do you think?
The first book I gave a 3. The second book a 3.5.
Overall, the book was just not. I I didn't find Zayd attractive, and so that made reading it just hard because in the scenes that he was supposed to be really sexy, like he was just more creepy to me. So normally the spicy books, the book boyfriends, they're very unhinged and I love it. But for him, I just was not feeling like he was more creepy to me than anything.
Yeah, I think that's just how it was wrote though. Like in the beginning, like she completely gave them no like connection. So that's how I felt. I felt the same. Like it was he was weird. He was a weirdo because like girl, you saw me for 5 seconds and you stalking me and
Like who starts just stalking somebody literally out of nowhere and just completely like in love with this person, like you're gonna be with me. You're fucking weird, bro. You're weird. That's strange. That is not. And then I gave it a chance because I was like, okay, like he's weird now, but I'm like, as the book goes on, like I'm gonna find him sexy. Like it's gonna get to that point, and it just for me never reached that point. Like there was never a point where I was like, I think I am attracted to him. It was just like this man is creepy and he just conned this woman into a fucking relationship with him and she needs to go to therapy and this is just not what I thought it was going to be.
honestly, this is the first book that I was like, I don't need therapy. That bitch need therapy because
Heavy on that.
absolutely. There was no reason for him to fall in love with her. And I think that's where I got tripped up. Like, I could not fall for him at all because it was like, bro, I don't even like you. Like, you're weird. You're just,
And we barely even knew anything about her as far as him falling in love with her. So it was like if we got more, I don't know, something out of it as to why, but it was just like he sees her and it's just head over heels, just infatuated with her. And you're weird. That's weird. And normally, in the spicy books, I like it because the darker the better. But I don't know. Zayd just did not. I was just not attracted to Zayd. Like I really wasn't.
I agree. I really agree. I think that was really, there was a lot of times where I was just like, honestly, if we're not recording a podcast over this, like I would put this book down because it's not, it was overhyped to me. Like TikTok and everybody that was like, oh my God, Zayd's the best. And Zayd is the, no, I'm sorry, baby, because at the end of the day, he's not. He's just, he don't have it. He doesn't have that sexiness, that appeal to him, because when they talk about like, oh, I seen her in the bookstore, and like he didn't talk about her long slender legs, her cinnamon hair that they mentioned a million times in this damn book. um but they didn't he didn't mention none of her like features that made him fall in love. Like there was no like connection on why he was just like, oh, that's the bitch I like, and I'm gonna follow her for the rest of her life. And it was weird.
Crazy.
It was odd.
Like, not you cutting hands off for a bitch you don't even know.
That,
You're fucking weird, bro. Like,
okay,
that's
so
crazy to me. To one, we don't even barely even fucking know what she looks like. And like, Adeline must have been a bad bitch for you to cut off somebody's hands for her and you don't even know her. Like, she had to just be just the baddest
I,
because there's just no way that I could see you cutting off somebody's hands for this girl. Granted, it's fiction, but like that was just way left field. Like, if you would have sent me somebody's hands, sir,
I'm calling the police
clink
and I'm
clink,
moving.
you need to go to jail, sir. You need to be under the jail. You need to go to prison.
I
This
don't
is
know why
not
she
okay.
didn't move. Like I don't know why she was just like, oh, this dude's sending me hands, and sending niggas away out of town, and
She said, I kind of like it. I kind of like
like
it a little bit.
that's,
Like,
that's
girl,
sexy. No.
therapy, please.
um um I like when they started introducing like what he did and stuff, like I still was trying to like find that traction, like when they were like, oh, he's a a murderer of people who are human trafficking, and he just is super against human trafficking. And
I
like,
loved that part of the book. I was like, that's so good that they gave him like a really good cause and he wasn't just completely this creepy fucking stalker. Like he had a good cause. And so I tried to be like, okay, I'm going to be attracted to him because he's fighting for this great cause and helping all these women, but it still wasn't there. I think in the first book I was more interested in what happened to her great grandma. Like I was more interested in
absolutely.
solving that mystery of who killed the grandma and like reading the grandma's diary. Like I was very much invested in that. Like I wanted to know who the fuck killed the grandma. I was very invested in that. I think I was more invested in that than their story.
Absolutely. And I wanted him to like I wanted him to be more like Rolando was like described in the book. Like he seemed like he was a good stalker. Like he was a bad guy, and then, like they made him seem like he was the murderer and stuff. But like deep down you could kind of see like he her grandma really liked her stalker. She
And
fell in
had
love
that
with
connection. Like they had that. Like granted, he randomly started soccer. It was weird, but you could tell like over time, like they built that kind of relationship up with each other.
And
So
did
it
he like work with her grandma? Her grandpa. So like they kind of already had some type of introduction. Like he knew who she was of some sorts, or probably heard stories or something about her. So he wasn't just in the dark, like, oh, that's my bitch. Like he
for
had
real.
to be like, oh, you know what? I have some interest in her, and so let me start to stalk her. Mind you, this whole book is like, honestly, everybody in this book needs fucking help, even me that read it, because stalking is some shit. Like, I don't
For
know if anybody
real.
has been stalked before. I don't know if you've been stalked before, but I've
No,
been stalked
but
before, and it's
even
kind of fun.
reading the trigger warnings, like I will say I was not turned off by the trigger warnings. Like I was like, okay, like let's get into it. Like, stalking. Let's see what's about to happen. Like
Put
you
my
would think I would have read the trigger warnings and been like, no, but the darker the better. The darker the better. So I was like, okay, let's see. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this gonna be just this fine man stalking her, but with some context. There was no context. It was just a creepy weirdo who just decided to start stalking this girl.
the
And
only
that
context was the storyline with her grandmother, and
and
like
that was like that
it was
storyline was great. Like
it
that was
was
a
great.
really good storyline. I really enjoyed that part of it.
That
Zayd
is the
just
part that got the 3.5 for me.
so
Actually, I say that got the 3. The point 5 came from it trying to be sexy, I guess. But I mean, um, I guess since we're gonna do some like spoilers and stuff, like when um Mark was meeting with her at the or she was like typing her book or something at the restaurant, and Zayd was trying to like avoid her so that Mark wouldn't see her because he was running the sex trafficking stuff, and he had
mhm.
already been trying to like get into learning about what they were actually doing so that he can tear them down or whatever. And so like he was trying to avoid Adeline at the little restaurant, and Mark ended up like seeing her and was being like really weird and was like, oh, like, um, she's beautiful. And Zayd was like, that's my girl. And I was like, that's kind of sexy. Like, I kind of like
Yeah.
that. Like that was cute. Like that he was one, he was protective over her. And then two, he was like, nah, that's my girl. Like he had to claim her before, the human traffickers tried to claim her.
I mean, I thought the sex scenes, some of them were very sexy. Like the one where they were at the haunted house thing and they were like in the, like the mirror glass house or whatever. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to try that.
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounds good. But
You're going
then
to jail. What you mean you got to try that?
I was like, okay, I like that. All right. Like some of the scenes were very like sexy. I was like, okay. But I think like it was the scenes were sexy, but I just wasn't attracted to Zayd. So it made it like, ooh, I don't know. Like he just creeped me out. He creeped me out. And then I feel like I only finished the second book because the first book ended in a cliffhanger. So that made me like, oh fuck, like I gotta see what happens next.
I
But I feel like if this, I don't know. I feel like if it didn't end in a cliffhanger, like I probably wouldn't want to continue to the next book. I would have just left it alone.
literally, if you wouldn't have said ends in a cliffhanger when I was reading it, I I literally got mad. I was like, "Fuck!" And Reginald looked at me. He's like, "What?" And I was like, "It ends in a cliffhanger, so we got to read number 2." And he's like, "Oh, damn, you don't like it, huh?" And I was like, "I haven't liked it for a minute." And so yeah, it wasn't that I didn't like I loved the story with her grandmother, but I did not like the romance in this book. Like I just the darkness was there. The romance was not for me. And I
I,
feel like for a lot of people it was because like they have that attraction to Zayd, but I personally like love, and I like them to like kind of like the woman that they're with and not just like fake like her until
I
they
don't like it to
force
be
themselves to like
forced. Like I felt like Adeline was kind of forced into a relationship with Zayd.
her.
And that
Yeah.
was just like I like, I'm like I love dark romance, but like I don't know with Zayd, it was just to me it just felt very forced. Like I would prefer her to at least take it upon herself to enjoy what's going on. It was kind of like he was just like pulling these things out of her. So that I was like, nah. And I even tried to look up fanfic because I'm big on I have to be able to physically see so I can be in
Mhm.
the world. And even the fanfic of Zayd, it just wasn't giving to me. Like it just wasn't like I was really trying and
No,
I just didn't get that. And then the second book, when she gets kidnapped, I was like, okay, here we go. Here's something to kind of break up that weird, creepy romance that I'm not getting from them.
the second book was a tough read for me. Like it wasn't that it was like just horrible, like all out, just I couldn't read it, but it was just like I felt like there was more human trafficking than there was romance. And I mean, I'm just like, I got so tired. I was like, can she just like, I get the realness of it. And I do like the fact that she was very like, she's not going to get saved right away. Like, it's not going to be a fairy tale type story. And she's got to fight through her battles or whatever. But Jesus Christ, like that, I'm telling you right now, that was intense. Like, I mean, she got she got a when they had to like run through that little like saw field or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it was like a fucking saw maze to me. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, shit. Even the first time where she like was like telling him to stop cutting that girl's mole, and he ended up,
Raping
assaulting
her.
her. And so I was like, bro, like I was like, this is gonna be intense. But I didn't expect it to be like half of the book, like I wanted them to bring in some romance so she wasn't in so much trauma, but Jesus.
I'm not gonna lie, I honestly was more rooting for her falling in love with Rio than I was
Same.
for her and Zabe. Like, and I know it's weird because obviously he kidnapped her and all that, but I just felt like I don't know, like something about Rio,
He cared
like
about her. You could say it.
taking
That's what it
care of
was. He
her,
cared
you
for
know,
her. Like,
taking care of her after, she was being abused and raped and all that. Like, I was just like, man, like, and I know that's probably, they just trauma bonded. So that's really not a good reason to be with anyone either. But I was just like, I was just like, I would love for it to be like, her and Rio kind of escaped together and they kind of became something. And then I don't know, I just thought like Zayd would like find her sooner. So like you said, like the fact that it had been what, 2 months that she was in the
uh-huh.
sex trafficking ring or whatever for 2 months. I just thought that he would find her a little bit sooner. And so I feel like those 2 months, it was very descriptive of everything that was going on with her. And I just was like, wow, this is very triggering. Very triggering.
Yeah. I just felt like if this is Big Z, like this is Daddy Z who saved everybody, like why he ain't save his homegirl? Because he ain't care about her like that. Like that's just I mean, I know he cared about her, don't get me wrong, because he was like beat up and stuff and he was like, oh, that's my girl, like I miss her. But like he was still not showing enough emotion for me, baby. Like I need my man to be like, uh-uh, my girl is in trouble and I'm about to kill everybody. Everybody should have been shot up. From the auctioneers to everybody should have been beat the fuck up, because why did it take so long to get her?
Exactly. I was just towards the end, like, okay. And then Adeline becoming just a killer.
A cold stone killer.
Just a, like, she been through a lot. So I was like, okay, like, she been through a lot. But I was like, damn, like, I didn't know she was just about to be just killing motherfuckers. But I mean, do you, girl? Because you've been through a lot. So you deserve to get that off. But that was just a little bit unexpected for me because I just didn't see her just becoming like that, I guess. But I mean, somebody kidnapped my mama, like I'm gonna be a killer, okay? I'm gonna be a killer too. So
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. I mean, I don't, but I do. If somebody kidnapped your mama, yeah. um,
stop, because we ride for Miss Annette,
yes,
okay?
yes, we do. Yes, we
Thank you.
do. We ride at dog.
What was your favorite sex scene from this book?
I would have to say the fun house where they were in like the mirrors and stuff. I thought that was pretty sexy. Um, I thought, yeah, I would say that was probably the most like interesting sex scene. The gun scene was wild as fuck to me. Like, I
That was wild.
personally, like, I don't know. I learned from growing up in the hood that playing with guns is serious, and so if it was a water gun, I probably would have been like, shoot, pew pew, all you want, but nigga, keep that shit away from me, because
Yeah, the gun scene was very intense. A lot of people really enjoyed. I wouldn't say like I didn't enjoy it or I did. I was just kind of like, oh, this is just kind of like, intense. But the fun house was definitely like my favorite sex scene, I would say.
I think the gun scene, it was too intense for where it was in the book. Like, granted, like she started off pretty spicy. I think it was in like chapter 16 where the gun scene was. But like, I feel like they should have had the funhouse scene first and then moved
Yeah.
on to the gun scene, because then like the trust would have been there. But there was no trust because, bro, you put a gun near my coochie.
Yeah, and I don't even know you like
I
that. So
don't
that's
even
like,
know you.
so that's
I
crazy.
don't like that.
I would say I did like the scene where she had to give him head and the belt was wrapped around her throat.
Oh, that was sexy. That was pretty hot.
I would try that. Okay. I'm like a choke me
Hmm.
type of girl. So I was like, okay, this scene, I was like, this is a really good scene. Like, that's for me. That's
Not
for
you
me.
a in my life type of girl.
I'm just saying that's a
I
I
ain't
was
mad
like
at you.
that's a let me write that in the book. Let me write that down for later.
Just said, let me highlight this.
So that one was good. I would say, what was your most cringe sex scene, do you think?
I would say the gun. Honestly, the gun had me like, I was literally sit. I think I was sitting next to Reginald when I was reading it, and I just set the book down, and he was like, "What did you read?" And I was like, "You don't even want to know, because I don't even want to go there no more." I was like, that part really had me just like, But honestly, all of the like the rape scenes really just had me like
I
completely
think
stuck turned.
I think the one that really got me was when he, like, Xavier had raped her a bunch of times and cut her up with his knife. And I think the
Yes,
scenes where he was like, I'm going to reopen the cuts, but with my own knife, that was so cringe to me. I was like,
you're
bruh,
right. You're
like to
absolutely
me, I
right.
feel like that would have been more traumatic for me. Like, I know he meant it as like, I don't want you to think of him, as the person who did this to you, so I'm gonna do it to you. I know he meant for it to be like a special thing, but that was cringe as fuck to me. And I feel like if I was her, like that would have just re-traumatized me all the fuck over again.
I
Like I
don't
would have been
know.
completely traumatized.
After all that she went through, like the fact that he was still like, I mean, he was having his thoughts, and he was like in his thoughts with most of the time, but
Mm.
like he was still pressing up against her, and like for all the abuse she went through, I I would have been like, nigga, don't even look at me. Like, don't even, you can't stay in my house. You can't be around me. I don't want to look at no man. I don't want to see another man. Like, she just, she was a strong woman. I give her
Very,
that.
yeah, she was very strong, and that I just, me personally, I don't. That's not a kink of mine. I don't want you to cut me. Nothing like that. Like that
I'm
just
not a blood person.
that just wasn't for me. Like I was just not feeling that. And there was just so many knife scenes. There was so many. I was like, okay, we fucking get it.
I
We
mean,
get it. Like,
it was a trigger. She said, knife play, girl.
but damn, I mean, knife play every couple of pages or what? Shit. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was,
no. You're absolutely right.
I felt like Sibby's parts with her fake henchmen were unnecessary. Like, I like for what? Like Sibby, I get it. Sibby, she's crazy, been through a lot, and she has her henchmen. But I feel like the point of them mentioning like the sex scenes with Sibby and her henchmen, I just felt like those were completely just unnecessary. Like for what?
Sibby, I love Sibby. I think Sibby was a good
But
character.
her character was great. Like Sibby was just great. She was probably one of my favorite characters next to Daya.
Dio was my favorite. Dio,
But I would say like Sibby was like really up there because she was really just like I hate bad people, so so I'm gonna just go ahead and take them out so they don't do nothing bad to people, and I love that. I just was like her little sex scenes with her henchmen. I was just like,
we
these are
didn't need him.
like these are invisible people. They don't exist. Like why are we here right now?
Right. She's just sitting there touching herself, and we're over here acting like there's 5 henchmen around her, giving her the business.
Yeah, that was a no for me.
Um, okay, so back to Daya. I absolutely loved her. She was literally my favorite character because she was just with the shits. Like when it came down to it, like one, she was already like working in the human trafficking ring to protect people and stuff, and she was just intelligent. So I like that about her. But like every time Addie was like, I'm doing some stupid ass shit, she's just like, bitch, I got your back. Like you doing stupid shit, but I'm still with you. And I like the friendship that she had with her, like that she just never like let her just like have a dumbass decision by herself. So I was kind of sad that when Addie was like gone, like she ran out the house looking for her friend, and then like she didn't even get to be around her through all of her trauma and like suffering and shit. And so I was really sad about that. But
I agree. I would say she was definitely my favorite character. Their friendship was just so beautiful. Like I would say in these books, like the way they made their friendship, it was just so beautiful that they were just so connected like that. Cause bitch, if you would have texted me, best believe I'm running out the house. No context, no nothing. I'm getting
period.
the fuck about the house.
I'm on my
So
motherfucking way. No
so
questions asked.
I love that for her, and they were just such good friends to each other, and I love that. So their friendship, that was like probably one of my favorite parts of the book, was just how close their friendship was.
Their friendship, their grandma's storyline. I liked Rio's storyline, like learning about why he was there and like how he didn't touch the girls. Like and then I also like my favorite thing about book two was that she let Rio live because like he was a bad dude. Like he did have to harm her and stuff, and like he could have possibly made his way out of there, but like they also open people's eyes to not only women are abused, like
Mm-hmm.
men get abused too, and like it's not so looked down upon. And Z's not out here saving men, like he constantly mentions how he's saving girls and women, and but men don't get mentioned like that. So for them to actually save Rio was like a highlight for me. I did like that story plot too.
I agree. I really didn't want them to kill Rio. I was like, I don't know what it is about him, but I just want him to live. I really want him to live. Like, so I was really happy. And when she finally escaped the sex trafficking, I was like, oh, finally, because she was just in there going through it. And I will say, like, one thing, like, the book was very descriptive and it was very well written. Like, you could definitely imagine everything that was being written.
That's true, especially her cinnamon damn hair, because I heard that so many times. I know that girl got cinnamon hair. I know it looked like cinnamon. It looked like a little cinnamon stick because she said that a million times. That's literally like my only flaw with the writing. Other than that, it was very descriptive. It gave so much detail, and honestly, the writing is what kept me reading because the story of like the romance was just it was just dark, girl. The whole thing was just dark to me.
And I love a dark romance. I really do. This one just, I guess I thought like Zayd was about to be my man, my man, my man, and he was not. I was like, this is not my man. I don't know who this creepy man is, but this is not my, okay, this is
And
not him.
the book talkers love him, and
They
so like I
do,
know
and
we're gonna get a lot
I,
of hate for our episode.
and
Like,
they probably gonna, y'all probably gonna talk shit and probably gonna say that we don't know what the fuck we talking about, but that's fine. If you love him, I love that for you. Just not for me. He just was not my cup of tea.
period. Okay, so let's see who else. What was your favorite? Um, I guess like kill in the book. Like, what was your like
I
favorite
would
person to
say
kill?
probably Xavier's because he just had put her through so much and was such a fucking weirdo that when she finally killed him, and I feel like he was one of those like men that are like women is are so much less than me, so like he really, even though they had already captured him, like in his mind I feel like he truly felt like she's not going to be able to kill me, type shit. So
Oh yeah,
I was
oh yeah.
very very happy when he finally died because he had really just traumatized her, and if he would have actually bought her, like who knows what kind of terrible shit he would have did to her. So I was so happy that she killed him. Like that was my absolute favorite kill.
Yeah. I liked what was her name? Christina? Was that her name? Claire? Christina? One of them hoes. Uh the one where she slit her throat.
Claire.
and Claire, and she like slit her throat at the end of the book, and she was like, all her blood is like dripping on me and like squirting on me, but like I could just see like the happiness that like she was gonna get knowing like the leader of all this shit was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of my favorites. Like I really like that one.
I
And then
would
Mark,
say
because Mark was a weirdo.
Francesca's was just funny to me because Sibby had all her body parts all over the place.
Like,
so,
girl, what are you
so
doing?
that was just funny to me because I was like, Sibby just she crazy. She's crazy kill. And I just loved her. I loved her so much. So like that kill, I was just like, this is funny because I could literally picture them all like picking up Francesca's fucking body parts and being like, Sibby, like literally, what the fuck, bro? Like, I could literally just picture that scene in my head. So I was like, that was also probably my second favorite kill.
Yeah, she did kind of go ham over there. Like, girl, you did not have to go like that. But I mean, you kind of did because all of them needed to go. Every
Hmm.
one of them needed to go.
So overall, do you think you would recommend this book to somebody else?
Hell no, absolutely not. I would probably tell if I was to ever recommend this book to somebody, they asked me to give them the most demented book I've ever read. And that would be the only way I would recommend it to them. But like off rip, like as a dark romance, like I wouldn't be like first choice Haunting Adeline. That would be like if you want to read some crazy shit and like want to like take a break after reading, like go read some Haunting Adeline. But no, I don't think so. What about you?
Mm, I don't know. Like I wouldn't say no. Like it wasn't like a terrible book, but yeah, I would definitely have to make sure the person understands like this is a very very dark book and you're definitely probably going to need a little mental refresher after reading this. So, I would say I'm half and half. I guess it would just depend on what the person is interested in because it wasn't a bad book. I would say like the writing was really good. Like the writing was
That is
really
great.
really good writing. I just don't think Zayd was just for me and so it was hard for me to like be really in the sex scenes and like obviously I read these type of books for the sex scenes mostly. So I'm like, it's hard
Yeah,
for me to get through those scenes, which are normally some of my favorite scenes, when I'm not attracted to the main character. Like that just makes it very hard.
I agree.
Just put myself in like Daya's situation because girl, if somebody was stalking you,
Talking me.
yeah, then I'm definitely gonna be like, and then you gonna tell me you love him? I'm gonna be like, bitch, we going to the therapist right the fuck now because ain't no fucking way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. We gonna have to get you some help. I don't know who we going to, but we about to be on our fucking way. Cause you got me fucked up thinking I'm about to be picking up hands and shit every day just cause you want to go on a damn date. Absolutely the fuck not.
No, that's true. And then like the police in this book were so realistic. The motherfuckers
Because
didn't
they
give
did not
a
shit.
damn.
They just didn't. But they're like, ma'am, you're being stalked. Well,
Good luck.
good luck. Don't know what to, like they were just so and I get that like Zayd was like hacking into their system and like deleting the police reports,
He
but
ain't
they just
for that.
really weren't concerned enough for me that this woman is telling you that this man is standing outside her house stalking her. And yeah, the police were very realistic. Like they really did not give a fuck.
They were
Like
like, "Oh,
I
someone
feel
hacked
like
the
when
system. It
women
took our
say
police
stuff like
report."
that, they like, like when women say stuff like that, they just don't take us serious. And in this book, it was very apparent. Like they were
No,
just like, sorry.
literally. And I'm like, they were just like, "Oh, someone hacked into the police station system and like took away all of your police reports. Oh my god, that's great. Have a good day. Enjoy your stalker." And I was just sitting there like, "For real? This is what we gonna do?"
Yeah, I would say overall, yeah, I would probably rate both books like as a whole, the series, I would probably rate it like a 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't definitely wasn't like my favorite series that I've read. It wasn't the worst. Wasn't the
Uh-uh.
worst. It
Oh no.
just I think they just really ruined it for me. But other than that, I think it was a pretty good series.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like if there was like another like two chapters at the beginning of the book with just them like him watching her at like the bookstore and then like following her somewhere else and just seeing her do something that makes him fall in love, because she just jumped right into like the the stalking, and it was realistic, but it wasn't realistic with the love to me. And I think that's where I'm like a 3.5. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the writing, I mean, the writing is really what clears it all. It made it worth reading.
I agree.
Well,
Alrighty.
do you have anything else to say about Haunting Adeline or Hunting Adeline?
I am just happy to be done reading this book so I can move on to my next book.
Yes.